I would argue that the script in an e-learning storyboard is the most important thing to get right, and that's because it's the backbone of the content. It's the thread that ties the whole thing together. You can have amazing graphics, a variety of interactivities and scenarios, and some nice background music, but if the words that the learner hears don't immediately resonate with them, you're going to lose them straight away. So in today's video, I'm going to share some really simple techniques that you can apply when you're writing scripts for your e-learning storyboards to make that content more engaging. Now, before we get started, I should mention that I've created a downloadable checklist. It's completely free and you can download that from my website. I'll put the URL into the description underneath the video. But you can use that to just go through these techniques that I'm going to talk about today and just check them off one at a time to make sure when you're writing your scripts, you're actually applying the techniques and not forgetting anything. So a script is usually delivered in one of two ways. The most common way that I've seen it is with a professional voiceover artist who reads off the script as they're recording it. But you also might find a script being delivered, with a video camera like this, where you've actually got somebody talking into the camera. But either way, to have a good voiceover, you need a good script. And I don't know about you, but whether I'm watching TV or listening to audio, I always prefer it when that person, I feel like they're actually talking to me rather than reading to me. And the best example I can think of is that I actually prefer listening to podcasts over audiobooks, because when I'm listening to a podcast, I'm listening to some real life conversation, or I might just be listening to one person talking into the microphone, but they're doing it naturally. They're not reading off a script. And I prefer that to an audiobook, because when I'm listening to an audiobook, I can subconsciously tell that they're reading. So I'm not feeling as engaged. So my ultimate aim when I'm writing a script is for the script to sound as close as possible to if I was having a conversation with that learner one-to-one and they were sitting right in front of me. Now, before we start discussing techniques, we need to talk about possibly the most difficult part of introducing a new approach to script writing, and that's getting the review team on board. And that's because usually when our storyboard goes to the review team, so it might be the subject matter expert, it might be the client, it might be somebody in marketing, but when they're actually reviewing the script that we've written, they're not going to be listening to the words. They're going to be reading them off a piece of paper or maybe off the screen. But the way that they're consuming that information is different to the way that our learner is going to consume the information when they're actually going through the course. They're going to be listening to it, but the review team are going to be reading it. So I can't stress this highly enough. It's really, really, really important that when you start writing more engaging storyboards and using some of the techniques I'm going to be talking about today, you really need to provide your review team with some coaching on this new approach. And that's because otherwise, and it's happened to me before, if you send that new script away to the person who's reviewing the content, they're going to tear it apart because maybe it's grammatically incorrect, or you've used words that are too simple and not formal enough, and that's because they're so used to reading blog posts and emails and books and formal documentation that they're just not tuned in to reviewing scripts that have been written for an e-learning storyboard. But that's probably a topic for another day, and I'll probably make another video about this. So as I said before, the key to writing a good script is to make it sound like you're talking to the learner rather than reading off a script. Because no matter how good we are at English literature, we don't write in the same way that we speak. One of the biggest differences is the use of contractions. Now, a contraction is where you squash two words together, and we do this all the time when we're talking. So instead of saying I am, I might say I'm, or instead of saying you are, we might say you're. Let's take a look at an example. When you have finished entering all of the information, you are ready to print the form. There will be instructions on how to do this in the next window. Now, that sounded okay, and if I was writing a support document, it would probably sound fine, but you could probably tell that I was reading. So what we should probably do is add some contractions to make the sentence flow better. You can see here that I've added 3 contractions. So now, if you listen to me read this again, you can see if you think, if this sounds any better. When you've finished entering all of the information, you're ready to print the form. There will be instructions on how to do this in the next window. It's much better, isn't it? It's not perfect, and there's some more things we can do to make that better, but it's a really good start. Now, something we often do is overcomplicate language by using, unnecessarily complex words. The words use and utilize are a perfect example. I mean, they pretty much mean the same thing, and I'm sure if you were to look it up, they probably have a slight difference in meaning. But how often when you're talking to your mates do you actually say the word utilize? I know, from my perspective, I've probably only ever said that if I'm trying to sound clever, but 9 times out of 10 I'll say use. So let's take a look at another example. If the information provided in the field labeled additional info is incorrect, an error message will be displayed within the results. Now, this looks like it's been taken from a help article on a website, but we could really improve this sentence just by simplifying the language a bit. If the information in the additional info box is wrong, you'll see an error message in the results. Not only have I used a contraction, I've also changed the language to be, how I would say it if I was actually talking to somebody face to face. And another benefit of doing this is that we've shortened the length of the sentence as well. So that might sound like quite a trivial thing, but if you were doing a 60-minute e-learning course and that reduces the overall time by 10 minutes, that's a huge amount of time we saved. And if your course is being taken by 1,000 people, that's it's over 150 hours of time that we've saved from people having to sit through e-learning. Now, when we talk, we usually use bridging words to take us from one sentence to the next. So a really good example of that is the sentence I just said. I started off that whole paragraph by saying now, and I started talking, and then when I started the second sentence I said the word so, and obviously you can scroll back and watch that part of the video. Now, I definitely wouldn't have written this, but when I'm speaking it really helps me connect my sentences together, and it helps the sentences flow. And it means that whoever's listening to the voiceover is going to be subtly prompted on what I'm about to say next. Now, have you ever sent an email or a text message to somebody and they'd read it differently to how you'd intended? Well, this happens all the time when you're getting voiceover recorded, because the voiceover artist interprets what's written in their own way. Usually they don't have much context about what they're reading, and maybe quite often it's the first time that they've actually read it out loud. But there are a few things you can do to stop this happening. The best way that I've figured out to do this is to have a field in your storyboard that says voiceover instructions, and you can actually put any instructions to the voiceover artist if you think there might be something that might be misinterpreted when they're reading it out. Now, there are usually 3 different types of mistakes that a voiceover artist will make when they're reading out our scripts, and the first one is pronunciation. Now, usually this is pronouncing things incorrectly, like people's names, company names, place names, product names, things like that. So all I do is I just add a note onto the storyboard explaining how to pronounce the word that might be a bit confusing. Now, another problem that I see quite a lot is emphasizing the wrong words. So let's take a look at another example. I didn't say you stole my money. So that was a pretty straightforward sentence to say out loud, but it's possible that sentence can be read differently and have a different meaning. So let's try it again and put the emphasis on different words. I didn't say you stole my money. 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 Now, I know I sounded completely ridiculous reading that out, but did you notice that by putting the emphasis on all the different words, it gave each sentence a completely different meaning? So to make sure that the emphasis is put on the right words when the voiceover artist is reading out our script, all I do is I just put the word that I want emphasis on. I make that bold and I italicize it, and then when the person's reading it out, they know where to add that emphasis. Now, when we're speaking, we usually add pauses at different points within our sentences. So what I do when I'm script writing is I add extra commas so the voiceover artist knows when to pause, take a breath, and move on to the next part of the sentence. Obviously, adding commas everywhere isn't grammatically correct necessarily, and this is why I said at the start of the video, it's important to prepare your reviewers to let them know that this new approach, you're not looking for feedback on grammar necessarily, you're looking for feedback on maybe the content. Now, there are several different ways that we can refer to people in our script. So if we were talking about software training, for example, I could be talking about how I move my arrow and click on something, or I could be talking about how you move your arrow and you click on something, or we could be doing this together and I could be talking about how we move our arrow and we click on something. Now, there's not necessarily a right or wrong perspective to choose, but what's important is keeping consistency throughout your content. And even if you've decided which one you think is best, it's important to have that conversation with the people reviewing the script, because what you don't want is for them to leave comments changing it in some places and maybe not everywhere, and then just what you end up with is a really inconsistent script, and when the person's listening to that audio, they're going to get confused, and it's going to feel inconsistent. Now, when you're writing scripts, you really need to consider how much knowledge that person has, so you know how much detail to go into. So I'm going to share another example, and this came from some previous software training I wrote in the past. But I should say this isn't relevant just to software training. It's just that a lot of the examples I have are from that field. And typically this type of training does have a lot of instructions about functionality, so it's quite relevant to what we're talking about. But it's really about understanding your audience and making sure you go into enough detail but without going over the top. So this is an example of one of the scripts we wrote for one of the how-to videos for one of our client projects. When you've finished, move the arrow to the bottom and click submit. So this seems like a pretty simple sentence to write, but we could have written that with a lot more detail, or we could have scaled it back and been a lot less specific about what we were saying. So let's go through some variations of that same sentence, and I'll start with the least descriptive way of saying it. When you've finished, click submit. When you've finished, move the arrow down and click submit. When you've finished, move the arrow down to the bottom of the page and click submit. When you've finished choosing your products, move the arrow down to the bottom of the page and left click on the submit button. Now, of course, I can't tell you which of those is right because it really depends on your audience. But I've had experiences in my life where I've trained complete beginners and they didn't really know anything about the subject I was teaching them. And in those examples, it was really important. I was very, very descriptive. But if I was, in this example, teaching software to somebody who had, a degree in computer studies or something like that, they're not going to need me to say left click on the mouse when I've already said click. So the point here is to tailor your message and tailor your script to the audience and make sure you're putting the right level of detail into what you're saying. Now, one last thing I want to mention, and this is probably the most important thing I'm going to say today, and that is when you've written a script, it's really important to read it out loud. So typing on a screen or writing something down on a piece of paper, it's going to sound very different in your head to how it sounds when you read it out loud. And I guarantee that once you start doing this, you'll spot loads of things that you would have written differently if once you've actually read it out loud, because it will sound different when you're speaking. So I hope that was useful. As I mentioned at the start, if you want to download the free checklist that goes through all these techniques, you can do that at the link, and I'm going to drop the link into the description underneath the video. If you enjoyed the video, please hit like and remember to subscribe to the channel. And if you want to stay up to date with everything that I've got going on, all the new content that I'm releasing, not just YouTube but everything else as well, head over to my website and sign up for my mailing list. But thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.